So we'll get started. I'm Candice Ben-Carey. I'm the program manager here at the Cambridge Art Association, and I'm really excited to introduce Zhonghe Elena Lee for our virtual studio visit. A little different than some of our past studio visits, Elena is actually going to do a little paper demo for us. And she is a multimedia artist from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And she's also a CAA member, so we're really excited to have her here. Elena, I will let you take it away for now.
Okay, so thank you, Candice, and thank you, Erin, for the Cambridge Art Association to have this opportunity to show my work and the process. I have been a member, I think, over 7 years at the CAA. It's a great organization. So I want to show you some work first, then leave more time for interactions. The first video will show you, after the first video, you will have an idea of what my intention is for my new project. We can talk about the new project at the second video. The second video will show you the process of paper cutting. So you have some idea of what you need and how to approach it. So we can begin.
One moment.
And also thank you everyone for coming. I see my old dancing friend is Ma, the participant.
All right. 1 second, everyone. One minute, sorry. Trying to. Put on the video. All right.
Good grammar and spelling are important.
All right. Thank you, Elena.
I think it's probably my internet connection. It looks a little bit choppy, but the original one is not.
All right. I'm just going to share the second video, Elena, if you're ready. Elena, I think you're muted. There you go.
The second one, I will talk long and explain what you need to do the paper cutting, and so that you get a flavor of it.
All right.
So apparently, I think you need a paper. And here in doing this demo, I used 6 layers. At the very beginning, you can try, maybe you want to start with 4 layers, 3. I use the rice paper, Chinese rice paper, white or red, and red here. If the paper is thicker, of course you will, make fewer layers. And I fix them this way, so the layers won't shift when you cut them. And you can also use a stapler. And you will see the scissor, it's different. It's very sharp at the very beginning, because it has to poke holes into the paper to make the, the small cut. You can get this actually from Amazon or even League art store, local art store or craft store. And in Chinese paper cutting, usually you start with cutting the larger shape. You saw that I cut around, so make it smaller so that the hand can hold it easily. And it is basically drawing with a pair of scissors. It's really about cutting lines and shapes. And the shapes is just closed lines. And when I cut, sometimes I'm trying to see how it works, so I didn't really draw it the final way I want. So I wouldn't cut those details. Like you see that I passed the, how do you say, the hands of the frogs, and I leave that later. The first stage is really just cut the large shape, and it is by rotating the paper. The scissors going away from your right hand, going away from your left hand, and then going toward your left hand. I think that makes it, that's what makes it different from cutting with X-Acto knife. It is smooth. It is trying to be like the, Chinese other art, like calligraphy. It is with one breath, and it is continuous, and it is the, in Taoist philosophies, you are trying to get into a stage of a flow. And while you're using X-Acto knife, of course, you can get to one with your work, but because the hard corner, you have to turn, you constantly need to stop. So in a way, there's some kind of subtle difference there. And this was a workshop that I gave at Cambridge Public Library, a preparation for it. I chose frog to start with, was because behind my art has always been my deep concern of how our relationship has been with nature, with other species, animal, plants, you know, and also animal, almost every animal, invertebrates, amphibians, mammals, everything. And I think that my reflections in the past year during the pandemic has made me realize we all feel like we have suffered, but it made me realize how animals suffered much worse for a very, very long time because of us. So this was for the Earth Day in April. So I chose frog, and I think you'll know that the frogs got this fungus disease, and 40% of them died. So because this was the first one that I tried, so you can see that in my art process, I don't always design it totally at the beginning. This is just trying to show how I go along and then look at it and then decide how I want those details. But of course, after you can also approach it with a very confident way, is that you already draw it exactly as what you want. Then you can go even smoother. In this video, you can see that I'm trying to make decisions while I'm cutting it. In the traditional Chinese paper cutting, there's another thing is that it doesn't have to be representative as long as you capture it. Then you can express it whatever way you want. And you can also, either use color or don't use color. If you use color, you can also use it color in any way you want. Here you see that I separate them because I don't want to cut all of them in the same design. So I took it apart. And then also because I want to demonstrate that you can fold it, but you don't have to always fold it at the very beginning to make it totally symmetrical. You can fold it at a certain time. There are many different ways of folding it. In paper cut, there's single cut, there's folding, there's different ways of folding it. But those are all technical. It's really not difficult. I think that, I hope that this video will show paper cutting actually is easy because it's really drawing with a pair of scissors. It's really all about lines or enclosed lines. And the skill largely is by rotating so that you have, you try to create smooth lines. And then the other thing is about when you start, you can make it bigger. Here, I think I made it too small, which actually has made it difficult for me too. You can make it bigger. You can make the whole design bigger. That's, I think, another difference of paper cutting is that, you know, when we do paintings, the bigger, usually it is more challenging. But in paper cut, it's not necessarily so. For the same design, the bigger is easier. So when you start, you can make it bigger, so larger, so that it's more rewarding and less frustration and challenge. After today's visit, if you're interested with some skills, there's I think at least another video that trying to show how to cut the lines, shape, and also I don't know how to call that shape, the on the flyer, you will see.
Elena, do you mean the inner shapes that you can't?
You know, in the bird, like feather, kind of like a feather or like a value chain. Like feather,
like texture.
Yeah, like a feather, like you cut it like a feather or hair. That's probably people think it's challenging.
Elena, what kind of scissors do you use for this? I know you mentioned they're specific to, you're able to get them off Amazon or
yeah.
Sure.
If people interested Amazon, I guess I can send links. You can also check, just say, you know, check the craft scissors and also pointy scissors. There's also surgery scissors in the US that you can get. The handle will be small. But I checked before, Bleak has pointy ones. Yeah, I think going to store is better because I think when I give the link on Amazon, some people told me that it is actually much smaller than it looks like on the online. Yeah, so this is basically sometimes you want to cut irregular shape because, for example, the shape on the frog is not totally round, but you can also make it totally round because it doesn't matter, right? It is how you want it. It's the Chinese art in general is actually not representative art, almost has never been representative or totally realistic unless they are mimicking the West. Traditionally, it is already an abstract expressionist kind of a style. This one, I still try to make it like a frog. And later I, cut these ones in different design, and you will see from workshop 1, the different designs and the different people cut differently.
Yeah, there's a lot of variation in here.
Yes.
Do you recommend doing, you recommend using those kinds of scissors rather than an X-Acto knife, like you said?
In this kind of cutting, it is not X-Acto knife. The technique is different. X-Acto knife, you need a surface, you need to put the paper down, and your hand has to go, for example, it's a different maneuver. But of course, there's no restrictions in your expression. Depends on what you want to express and what you like, what feels comfortable for you. But because I was growing up in this region, and this is a traditional style, particularly for women, I want to kind of continue that.
And so I know you had mentioned the Chinese rice paper. So is that all of the layers that you're using to cut, or do you have have you experimented with like different thicknesses of paper?
Yes, there are also mulberry paper. A mulberry paper will be much stronger and also thicker. And I tried a different paper. You can always try different paper. For this rice paper, it's good is it's very thin and soft and strong. The red is traditionally Chinese use the red because it just feels happy. And I start to use white because I want to put color on it. Yeah, watercolor on it.
So you kind of paint, your process is to paint after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I was really interested in the video. I know we have some questions about the brand of scissors, actually, before to my question, but
the one that you saw, I brought from China. So I don't know whether Chinatown has, but a lot of things now from Amazon actually is shipped from China. So you may find it. I will look
for a particular brand that you recommend, or?
No, I don't really look for any brand. It's just, you just need the very pointy ones. And if you know how to, thinner it will be good. I actually don't know how. So I just use the one that I got.
Yeah.
But I know that in the region, those women who are professionals, they use, kind of stone to make it very thin, so they can cut it into even, much more delicate.
Oh, so they're able to like sharpen them, or?
Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't tried. So let's see. Someone said Michael's has them. Yeah, I think so too.
Yes, they do.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
So we did want to leave some time for questions. I don't see anything specific. This workshop, or this studio series, is going to be available on our YouTube channel. We'll be kind of sharing the link with you guys afterwards, and with Elena as well. But if anyone has any questions about her practice, Elena, I actually really am interested in the video. Seemed to incorporate a lot of animation. Was that the first time you've kind of used your paper techniques with animation, or?
Yeah, so that was done several years ago. The project that I have, the two projects I have this year, one was granted by the Cambridge Arts Council, the other one by Mount Auburn Cemetery. One is on the last rhino, which is a species extinction. And the one in Mount Auburn Cemetery is more of the story on the other side. The good side is the art of living together. So in these two ideas is all about watercolor and paper cut, and maybe some other, not limited to watercolor, to make animation a story like the first one that I did, something like that, maybe different. They are still in process. That's why I showed that one, is to say how paper cut together with other media and can tell stories. And for me, it's important to tell stories. What I care about is about our relationship with our environment.
And I know there was a short little blurb at the end of that video about the relationship you had with your aunt, and how that influenced that video project. Could you speak a little bit about that, or? Or what
Yes,
kind of
so
vision for future projects with this grant?
yes, so in that video, I was living with my aunt there when before I was 6 years old, from 2 to 6. Then I left. It felt like I could never get home anymore because it was all mountain regions and the transportation and it was very difficult before. But in 2011, I went back. The train was working. It only took 4 hours. Right now, the fast train takes only 2 hours to get there. So it felt okay, as a child, I lost home. It felt so it was deeply, a loss. But then it only takes 2 hours right now to go back. But when I went back, all the cave houses were abandoned. They used to be the carrier of this paper cut. So in that movie, that's my way of coming home, because finally I was able to go home, but the old home and the people I love, of course, long gone. So my way was going home was by creating that work. That work made me go home. And it was only after making that film, I bought my place because I feel I can settle down. Before that, I was always, no matter where, I was always looking for home.
And that makes sense in terms of your interest in the environment. I mean, this is kind of a personal take on your surrounding and your environment.
Yes, and that feeling of lost habitat, lost home is painful. So I totally feel animals. I feel their pain.
Yeah.
And I feel like whatever, small voice I can make, I just have to make voice for them because they can't speak human languages. Although we can't fight with capital, with power, we can, but the animals cannot even talk in human language or paintings. So I try to do as, a little bit that I can.
So have you always had kind of an interest in the animal world, even as a young child?
Yes, I think that when I grew up, it was still the time that we're close to nature. Now that we see the environment, a lot of people who love the nature, they will say that now we have this nature, what is it? Lack of nature syndrome. So basically, we're not connected with nature. And once you're connected with nature, you just feel it. They are all lives, who give us that right to claim everything on earth as ours and all others are for our purpose and subordinate. So it is, if we have suffered just the last year, think of how animals lost their homes and couldn't, because of our constructions, they couldn't find a mate. They are dying, and what they're suffering, and plus how we actually set up all the ways to kill them. I mean, so I hope that, I know this is what I'm deeply passionate about, and I feel about it, even trees, I feel about it. When I use paper, I also try to save them. So I hope people, the audience will, as artists will, together we can make some, impact. So I thank you for your coming.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Mary raised her hand.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Elena. We were honored to have you talk with us.
I think Mary raised her hand. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Mary.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say I really feel and agree with everything you're saying regarding animals and plants and the environment. And one of my concerns as an artist is how many toxic materials that we use. And I mean, it's a concern for me. In watercolor, perhaps it's not quite so bad, but in acrylic, we're painting with plastic. And it's a big dilemma. And also, I just wanted to say, even though I feel those things so deeply about nature, I have a difficult time like bringing it into my work so that the audience or the public will know that that's what I'm feeling too. So it's wonderful to hear how you are talking about your work and about your sense of home and regaining home, even though you lost it at such a young age. And yeah, any comments you have about what I just said would be appreciated.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, I think you raised a very important point. I always, I'm also conscious while I'm making art is that why I'm making this. Am I justified to use all this kind of material? You know, I do think that. And I think I can see other artists are doing that too. Like when I watch the video online, I see people, you know, when they try to create watercolor, like texture, they use saran wrap or plastic. Now they're trying to use, you know, the plastic bag so that they can use again and again, or they use tissue paper, because tissue paper, once you create the texture, it's dry, you can still use it for collage or clean things. So I think I see, I'm very happy that the artists are very conscious about this. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, it is important to be aware of what kind of materials you use and the impact that you're making with those. Great. Thank you, Elena, and thank you, Mary, for that comment. Elena, if you wanted to say anything to end your session, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. And thank you to Elena for sharing your work with us.
Thank you for everyone being here. And I see some, okay, where in China were you born? I was born in Xi'an, where the terracotta place was. Kate, I hope, no, it's Mary. Oh, Mary. Okay, yeah. So I was born in Xi'an. It was the ancient capital of China. So it does carry a very strong tradition. And if you are interested in more of my work, you can also see it on my YouTube channel. Yeah. So thank you for coming. And thank you, Erin, Candice.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll be sending out the YouTube video of this. So thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Elena. Bye-bye.
Bye, hon.